on, guys? You are listening to episode 3, season 1 of the OK Sis podcast. I'm your host, Dez Nicole. That is Dez with a Z. And I got my sis, Mouse, with me. Mouse, talk to him.
What's happening? It's your girl Mouse. You know what it is. I'm all the way up here in Ohio doing this thing with y'all. I'm so appreciative to still be a part of the movement, man. I feel like a lost child not being in Florida, being a part of all the festivities that I be seeing out there. So.
Yeah. I feel like I take you with me to these events now. And we're going to get
I
into
mean,
the
listen,
Beats and Chill event I went to. Like, I'm finna
listen,
blow your mind. I want to say shout out to Beats and Chill, Hometown Jazz, everybody that was a part of that event, because it's a couple days after that and I'm still like impacted. Like I am still like heavily impacted from that night, and we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. But with it being the 1st of March, with it being a Sunday, I got a
that's
question for
Sunday.
you. What comes to mind when you hear Sunday's best?
Well, obviously not what I'm wearing right now. I'm like, um, but I feel like Sunday's best is definitely like you dress to the nines. You putting that shit on. You feel me? You got the hair did
Putting
up.
that shit on.
You might got your goals in. You might have a special type of frames. All your trinkets and everything
Okay,
like that.
nails.
I'm trying.
I see you. I see you, sis. I see you.
It's like that's
So
Sunday's best for you. You on top of your P's and Q's that day.
would you say that Black people are the originators of putting that shit on for real?
Oh hell yeah, hell yeah. Just think
Would you
about
say we most likely
dandyism.
inspired by talk? Oh yeah, you're right. You know what? And it's kind
We
of
were
funny
some
because
dapper
it's
ass
just like
people.
no matter what time period, no matter what frame, like you what no matter where you are, Black people is gonna find a way to put that shit on. Like
Every
give us
single
the
time.
scraps or we gonna make something. Like
It don't matter what the occasion is. You going to a funeral, what we wearing to the repast. Okay, we going to a baby shower, everybody
no.
get their Burberry. You feel me? Like we going to a wedding, we going to a cookout. They gonna put on
It's
their
like we
best
always
and they
need a
gonna look
reason,
good,
but
feel
like we
good.
really don't need a reason.
Don't need a
Like,
reason
oh,
at all.
I'm just popping out real quick. I'm gonna just go show my face. What you
Right.
gonna wear?
And don't let us get a fresh haircut or a fresh style or something, fresh reaches. Then we outside
No
all day.
facts.
No reason for nothing. Just outside.
I feel like Black people also like they be waiting for the holidays to hit. Like, oh, I already know what I'm wearing on Christmas. I already know what I'm wearing on Easter. Like they just
Especially if they
know,
going to
like,
church.
especially if they going to church. Even on Mother's Day, I would say niggas that ain't been to church in a minute and they want to make their mom happy. I've seen it. They will make sure that they show up on Mother's Day to church with that shit
I love
on.
to see a man in a pastel suit. I ain't gonna lie.
I ain't
Easter
gonna
and
hold
Mother's
you.
Day when they be bringing out the pastels. All right, go black man.
Speaking of church though, I feel like what day was that? Friday was Beats and Chill event. Like I feel like I had church service early. Like I want to break this down. So Beats and Chill this past Friday had a an event where they honored D'Angelo, the passing of D'Angelo, and all of that. And I would just even start off with saying was I feel like because I grew up listening to D'Angelo, I really did not realize the impact of his music until I was an adult to realize what he was talking about and the time in which he was talking about it. Because like when you grow up back, I don't know, I'm like everything is beautiful. But as I got older, I realized of like, oh, everyone does not consider this beautiful. And you have this beautiful Black man talking about Black love and brown sugar. Like, I didn't realize how impactful that was. So that whole night, from every artist, from Storm to Asia Iman, Micah, like I was so blown away. And I think I even sent you something that I put on Threads that like
Yes,
God was literally present. God was literally present. And when
absolutely.
it went back to like, we kind of talked about that a little bit before. So I was like, I'm gonna let you fill in because I know that you wasn't physically there, but I feel like you was still
I was
there and you
listen.
understood what was happening in the room.
I was on y'all stories scrolling. Listen, I was trying to get all the from everybody's angle. I'm on Jazz page. I'm on Hometown.
Yeah.
I was on everybody's page trying to watch their stories and stuff and see the event because I'm like, I can't physically be there, but I can only imagine because D'Angelo's music. you're right. You don't really get it until you're old enough to really comprehend what he's talking about. He was talking about black love in such a time where black love really wasn't radicalized anymore. Like it went from the 70s where black power was like at the forefront of everybody's mind. The 80s kind of calmed down, and then the 90s we was doing it with hip hop and everything like that. But when it came to black love, it was always talking about how the daddies get locked up, fatherless kids, single mothers. That specific trope started to really emerge itself in the 90s. And then you got D'Angelo, this young black man from the Carolinas, came out of nowhere with this dark skinned black woman that he's in love with, Angie Stone, and made a whole album radicalizing the connection of black men and black women. And
Yeah.
doing it from such
Unity.
a gospel like background. That man was raised in the church, so you could hear God all up through his lyrics. So he made sure that even though he was talking about love and sensuality and sexuality, he was making sure that God was in the lyrics as well. God was in the harmony. God was in it
Yeah.
was in the instrumentation. Like if you listen to D'Angelo and you don't feel God through his music, are you really listening to
And it's just
D'Angelo?
like, and it's like, who do you think created sex and sexuality and sensuality? Like, it it's God energy. And I think that, like, it was funny because I remember when that video came out where literally he's look butt ass naked. As a kid, I should not have been watching that video.
Untitled?
Like as a kid, I'm like I don't know what year it
Sit
came
at the
out, but I
TV.
had to be no more. I had to be no more than 4, I promise. And I'm watching this video, but as a kid, I don't understand what's happening. But as an adult, I'm just like, that is beautiful. Like the anatomy of blacks and the fact, we can go down so many rabbit holes when it comes to like black women and their bodies. I remember I had read this book, and one of the quotes was, "From the time that they're born, the body of a black woman didn't belong to herself." And again, just based off of our history, like we can go down so many rabbit holes off that quote, but it's just like the beauty of it, like the beauty of this man, like
Mm-hmm.
that's God's creation, and to be able to sing about it, um, in a way that it touches souls, that's incredible. That is a gift. And we talked about like a lot of these iconic musical artists started in the church. Like the church was probably your first platform. How do you
Mm-hmm.
feel about that?
I mean, most of them got. I always bring this up because she's such a obvious, like she was a church baby. But I mean, again, Glorilla, her real name is Gloria Hallelujah. You was your granny named you. You know you was a deaconess's grandchild. Like you can't deny that. And so for you to have that name, it's like okay, it's kind of a obvious that you grew up in the church. But then you think about so many artists that you don't even realize are spiritual until you kind of dissect their work because they're not the typical churchy type person. But if you listen to their work, they're talking about smudging, they're talking about sage, they're talking about ancestral veneration, they're talking about, offerings and shit. They might be talking about um books of the Bible, Psalms, Proverbs, all of that. You can hear it in their lyrics if you're paying
That
attention
Jill
if
Scott
you know the
song.
picture.
Yeah. And I think like it I want to really talk about this too, because at what point do people get to say, "Oh, it's not holy or it's not sacred, it's secular." But it's just like the fact that this vessel that was created by God is expressing something in a way, like who gets to say what's sacred, what's secular, what's this, what's that. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it kind of is just like it goes back to like what's too woo woo for the church, because all of that is also still rooted and can be found in scripture as well. So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
there's always like a controversy or like some kind of line that people are willing to cross or some people aren't willing to cross when it comes to talking about like what's acceptable in church
Right.
and what's not acceptable in church, or some people happen to walk away from the church to express their gifts when the church was like kind of how they discovered their own gift.
And that right there goes into I feel like that The secular part comes from the musicality behind the lyrics. Like if it's a hip hop beat, if it's an R&B beat, it's automatically dubbed as secular. And I feel like that's just because of the negative connotation that certain Christians put on hip hop and R&B. And that's why I love artists like Kirk Franklin and Sister
He
Sister.
literally came to
I
mind when
mean,
you
not
said
Sister
that.
Sister, Mary Mary. Why I say Sister Sister? Lord Twins. Um, but Mary Mary and Kirk Franklin because they took elements of hip hop and R&B and put it in their music, and they were known Christian artists. They were singing gospel songs. So you can't
Yeah.
negate the fact that they're beings of the Lord and non secular in their lyrics, even though they have a hip hop drum in the background. Like that's not something that they can use as an excuse anymore. And that kind of gave Christian rap more wiggle room to work their way into being such a bigger entity. Like I read an article not too long ago, I sent you the link, where it it said that holy hip hop or Christian rap started in the 70s along with hip hop. So when they seen that hip hop was having such a great impact and such a large, following, and it was just welling up in the 70s, people were like, well, I like the way it sounds, but I don't like the lyric content. I want to talk about God. So then there goes the holy rappers, the Christian rappers. And the first Christian rap album came out in 1982, MC Mid-Sweet. So it's like it's been something that's been around. I just don't think it's been accepted as a real
Mm,
genre and accepted by Christians as non secular music until later on, like the 90s and the early 2000s. Like I said, when Kirk Franklin and them started popping.
right, right. Do you think that there is music that may not overtly say like Lord or Jesus or anything like that, but is felt, like the presence of God is felt? And I think you did touch on this a little bit before the podcast of D'Angelo's music, but are there any other artists that you would say that okay, they don't even have to confess this or that about their faith or belief, but the minute that they open their mouth or the minute that their music is played, the presence of God is felt in some capacity?
The first person that pops up in my head, honestly, and that's just because of the type of music he makes, and it's kind of obvious in his lyrics, is Kendrick Lamar. He is one of the few
Mm,
artists that is able to integrate his past with finding his relationship and cultivating his relationship with God and his healing journey and mending his relationship with his wife. He's very good at crafting a song that can still be a bop, but when you listen to the lyrics and you hear certain parts of it, you could tell it's something that's like that's God right there. Like
yeah.
he's
Some kind of
talking
spiritual
based off
aspect to it in some kind of way.
right. So
Yeah.
that's just one
There's this
person. But then
artist.
you got oh go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say there is this artist that was at Beats and Chill, Micah Da Vinci, and there is just a part of the night where I was just like, there is no way he's not a worship leader. Like he might not come out and overtly like say of like, oh, I lead worship, but it was just something in the way that he created such an experience. And I think everyone that went before him was great opening up, like, because I feel like it's levels to it. Like one time
Hmm.
I heard this quote about the spirit of God kind of being like a thermostat, like it's just a matter of awareness. And I think kind of like everybody that went before him kind of like opened that up, and then he got there, it was just like, whoa, like what just happened? There was definitely a shift in the room from the
Hmm.
instruments that was like used to his vocals. Like he didn't even start off singing. You just heard it kind of again reminded me of church, of like sometimes it's just the instruments, like let the
Now we
instruments speak for itself. It was an experience, Mouse. I really wish you was
right.
there. Like there at one point I called my best friend and I was like, I came here by myself, but I want somebody to like just see like what I'm seeing right now or hear what I'm hearing right now. And
That's
yeah, at that it was
okay.
definitely a shift in the room, and it was powerful, and I was just like, who is this man? Like I was not expecting this. So shout out to Beats and Chill, thank y'all for that experience.
Now if we talking about R&B artists, I got a plethora of
Let,
okay.
let, let,
Leon
let's let's let,
Thomas.
let's hear it.
Let's run it down. Leon Thomas is a new one. He that boy.
That man know what he
He has
doing.
he has
He know what he
something
doing.
that I don't think many people from our generation have. He is special. That's really all I can say. And for him to be a Disney kid and like we all grew up with him. So seeing him go, I don't know if you watched the show he was on, but like if
The
you watch
Victorious or
Disney,
something like that.
yeah, the one with what's that girl with the hair that was singing the high notes? Mariah Carey, Tiny Clone,
Oh, Ariana
Ariana
Grande.
Grande.
I know exactly. I know exactly what show you're talking about.
Yeah, so it's like to see him go from that to where he is now it's incredible. And his voice is just he has the talent. He has a voice that carries. He has a voice that makes you feel whatever he's rapping. Solange is another one. She speaks not only I feel like she speaks not only to the spirit but also like she makes you love your blackness. And it's
Yeah.
not really an easy thing to do to make the type of music that she makes. I don't think. Like
And
I feel like
I also
she's
feel
unique.
like with that, to create the space for people to sit and not only recognize their blackness but to embrace it and to love it, like you first have to do it for yourself.
Hmm.
And I think that that to me is like very powerful, because like people will look at her and be like, that's Beyonce's sister, but it's just like Solange has her
That's
own
Solange.
art form.
Like,
Like, yeah, she Beyonce's sister. How, like, she has her own
but she's
message, her
also
own flow.
Solange. Like,
Yeah, right. So I just wanted to add that. I know you were going on the list and everything, but I'm just like, Solange, like herself creating the space for people to, I don't know. I just feel like at one point it was cool to be melanated. Like I feel like it was a time where like it was publicized and people started embracing it. But it's just like, what about the people that was already doing that before it was popular? Like melanin is popping. I don't know if you. I feel like that came about like 2016, 2017. Like it just became a
it
cool
was.
thing to be black. It's just like we've been black. Like now it's cool.
I,
Like now,
I feel like it's like a resurgence from the Black Power movement in the '70s. Like, it was thick back in the '70s. We was really embracing ourselves and our texture, and the unity and Black Panthers and all that shit came to pass. And like all of these things was happening for Black people in the '70s for real, '60s if you want to be honest, because it started with civil rights. But and then it kind of cooled off, and then we was dealing with a whole lot of in-home stuff, colorism, texturism, all this stuff. Then that translates into dealing with what we had to deal with in corporate America because colorism, texturism, and
yeah.
racism
And then the
exists
standard of
there.
beauty.
Standard of beauty, right? So it kind of like weaned off for a bit. But recently, like you said, in the early 2010s, it started to make a comeback, and now it's like really. I feel like honestly, a lot of it is commercialized because of the
Commercials.
BLM movement and all of the police brutality things that was happening. Like a lot of brands started to try to really like grab on to it and capitalize off of it. And then it started to kind of wean out again. But like at this point, black people was like, nah, F that. We still going.
Yeah,
So
we not a wave. Like this is the standard. We are the standard.
exactly.
Like we've been the standard. Like, yeah, and I feel like it could also not only with what you're saying about like the brands now picking up on, like, I remember like Dove did a commercial or something. But like when it comes to makeup, and then Rihanna fucked that up and just did all kind of pigments, and she set the new standard for makeup, I feel like. Um,
As
but
a
it
black
comes in
woman.
waves. But as a black woman, as an islander, as all of it, and then now I just feel like with everybody having access to so many different platforms, I feel like people have access to see more blackness that is beautiful, like different types of blacks, you know what I mean? You
Mhm.
have like the Afrocentric, you have like the woke culture, you have all different types of beauty when it comes to that. And I think what we were talking about earlier, of like the power of social media, it can't, it's how you use the tool, but being able to see different ways to style your beauty. Like, oh, there is a community of blacks that look like this and dress like this. You got the punk rock black. You got this kind of black, and I think that
Mhm.
has definitely helped the culture as well.
Yeah. Finding that community online has definitely been a big benefit to the swell of the black love, black power. Not, I don't want to say movement because that makes it seem like it's temporary. It's just mindset. That's our mindset. That's our heritage. That's who we are. And people are really starting to finally embrace that. And I love that for us because, like, just to kind of go back into what we're supposed to be here for, anyways. For the first time in I don't know, what, 40 years, we didn't have a top 40 song in hip hop on the billboard at some point. So it's just like people was talking about rap was dying or hip hop is dying. And the way I
Mm-hmm.
see it, and the way real fans of hip hop see it, is hip hop's not dying at all. Hip hop is just going back underground because y'all don't appreciate it. Y'all have commercialized it. Y'all have capitalized off of it. Y'all have watered it down. Y'all are making anybody famous and making it seem like talent and intelligence and black sensism and God don't exist in our music and hasn't been there since its inception. Now we're trying to take it back because y'all don't deserve it. Like,
No fact.
get cheap.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like yeah, it's kind of hard to keep God out of anything artsy specifically,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like you can't take God out of black culture, period, no matter what we do. Like every ounce of us that expresses, and it goes back to like the church of like, I don't know, for the first time when I was thinking about it growing up, the first time I wanted to dance, I saw it in church. The first time I wanted to sing or to pick up a
Praise
microphone, I
dancing.
saw it in church. Like I have
Yep.
the oldest picture of me with
Kid
a
choir.
microphone is me doing an Easter speech. Like we were trained in the church to do creative things, and I don't know if it was like really looked at it as in like the birth of a star or the birth of an icon, but a lot of like Aretha Franklin, even Elvis got his shit from the blacks in the church. Like Marvin
Mm-hmm.
Gaye, like all these people were
James
crafted
Brown.
or their art. You know what I mean? Like all these
Right.
samples that people are doing most likely is sampled from an artist or icon that first started in the church. I feel like that was the first industry. How to capitalize on it is probably like you probably just wasn't getting paid for it in the way that you ought to be paid for your gifts, but a lot of it was first birthed, I guess, through that.
And you know what's crazy? Just playing off of that point, a lot of people did have their start off in church. However, gospel as a genre does not have the global exposure that it deserves. Like, if you think about the popular genres of music, you have hip hop, R&B, pop, rock, grunge. You know what I'm saying? All of these different genres that are more popular than gospel and Christian music. And I
It's
think it's
very true.
because people kind of like stray away from God talk because they feel like they're not saved enough to digest it, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know. Gospel needs to be popping. I be in here listening to my
It
gospel all
does.
the time.
Because
So
I
it's
mean,
just
I
like, I
even
don't,
think about the Clark sisters, like how much of how much of the Clark sisters have influenced more music than we know.
Fred
Like
Hammond. Who else is it? Of course, Kirk Franklin again. Donnie, is it Donnie Hathaway? I'm spacing on the names now, but at the end of the day, like they're all so influential in regards to like just the hooting and hollering that we do
the
on our
hooting and
music.
hollering.
Like any artist that hoots and hollers in their music, Fantasia, key example. She was a church kid. Absolutely,
Fantasia.
absolutely.
She's still churchy to
Jennifer
this day.
Hudson,
Like
all the hooting and hollering artists. I know they was Cisco. I know he was a church
the
kid.
runs, like people running in their music. I think that's the proper term for it. Like skit
Yeah,
scats. like the runs, like thinking about
A lot
Whitney
of the
Houston, like
mhm. A lot of the harmony
powerful
stacking
people.
that they do on choruses are based off of choirs. Like there's so much influence that gospel music and church music and even old Negro spirituals and hymns that don't really
Negro
have,
spirituals
they
and
just have
hymns.
that standard stomp, clap, stomp, clap. Even those are influential in our music. So,
When it even comes to even if we talked about like the Super Bowl and people talked about like Bad Bunny bringing Hispanic culture when it comes to like the drums, the way that they dance, all of it honestly can be tied all the way back to Africa. The
and
rhythm of
African
something.
religion.
The, so it's like you can't you like you can't take niggas and God out of everything. Like it
Yeah.
probably started there. It
Nine times
probably
out of ten, it
started there.
started. Yeah, 9 times out of 10. And
Nine times
I
out of
just want to
10.
I want to kind of segue into where you brought up that you started in churches like the first member you had was you doing a Easter what was it a
Easter
little
speech.
Easter speech or whatever. So you're an artist, okay? So what aspect of God do you implement into your music? Like where do you hear God
That's
in
a
your own?
beautiful that is a beautiful question. I think like even as I thought about like my own journey of being an artist, because I feel like I never wanted to be an artist. It's just something that is in me. And I go back to Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church. It's in
I'm
Tampa.
gonna
They're
go
not gonna
Anthony
tear it
too.
down. Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church is to this day my great grandparents' names are on the church. It was dedicated to them. And it's just like I
Oh,
grew up
that's
in
a
a church and
shame.
I feel like when you're black, you kind of as soon as you come out the womb, you're kind of given a book and a religion. And it's just like it's
Mm-hmm.
all we know. It's how we preserved our life when we were taken from our land, when we were given a language, stripped of everything. Like something that wasn't taken from us was faith. Like, okay, we're gonna sing. Okay, this is how we're gonna connect. Like, this is how we're gonna get out of slavery. Like, it's something about the essence of just our souls of which I think about like hymns, like Negro hymns. Like sometimes I'd be like, wait, what was the lyrics? What were they saying? And it's just like it's not just a saying, it's a feeling, it's a knowing from within. So the first time I saw that I wanted to sing, it was because I was too little to sing, apparently. But I remember my grandmother being the choir director. And I just remember looking up and they were all in robes and everybody was in unison and it sounded good. And I looked at my mom and I was like, I want to go up there. Like I want to do what they're doing, but I was always too little. And then all of a sudden, there was dancing to some Mary Mary song, "Take the Shackles Off My Feet,"
Yeah, I
and
was
I
just
was
about to
like,
start singing
I
that.
want to do that. Like they got T-shirts, and you know, black people gonna do their T-shirt. They had T-shirts, they had
Right.
the ribbons, they. It was just something that like mesmerized me as a kid, and again, I was told of like, oh no, you're too young. Like you'll do it when you get older, and it was just like, but you gonna give me a microphone to say a Easter speech? Like I can't even memorize this. Like I got to read it off, and it's just like I always had access to express something of the arts. And although I didn't, and it's so funny today because what am I doing? What am I known for? Speaking on a microphone. And it's just like
Mm-hmm.
I got my foot in the door, or I got my first inspiration from my family's church, and that's who I grew up to be is some kind of artist that I don't know was inspired by
Uses their
that. So
voice to
that's my
inspire
look
niggas.
inspiring niggas. But I feel like when it comes to my art, it's kind of hard to listen to it and not like even like when I first started with rapping, I didn't write out be like, oh, I'm a Christian, I do this, that, or that. I had people ask me like, oh, are you a Christian artist? Like I'm listening to your music and I hear this, and it's just me talking about my journey as a stereotypical black girl, and shit is hard. Like I got the very stereotypical story of a black girl, single parent, dad not there. But how did I continue to become something or someone? I couldn't do that without my faith in something that's bigger than me, that's outside of me. So, how about yourself?
It's
Even
pretty
if you
much the
don't even
same
consider
thing.
yourself like an artist, but you're a writer, like that to me is creative as fuck.
Honestly, the first time I wanted to write something, it was after my uncle passed, I wanted to write him a poem. I was 9 years old. That was the first time I really wanted to write. My brother wrote a poem for him, and his was much better than mine. And I'm not gonna lie, I was jealous. I love you, Florence, but I was jealous. Um, his poem was much better than mine. But after that, it kind of lit a fire under me because I know my uncle would have been like, he's such a big hip hop fan, and he's the reason why I love hip hop to this day. Like literally, introduced me to Bone Thugs and Harmony, Tupac, LL Cool J, Coolio, all the greats. So
Oof.
he helped cultivate my love for hip hop, and me writing a poem was almost like my rap love letter to him. But I never
Little
really
Maya
got
Angelou.
into right, you know. So but after that, like I got into poetry. I started reading a lot more novels and stuff, and I got interested in writing novels shortly after that. I just took off from there, honestly. But it did start with it low key did start with the church because of I guess his funeral maybe. Like they had called us up to the stand to read out aloud and stuff like that and say things for him and everything, and I kinda was like I didn't go up but I watched my brother perform his poem and just seeing like the overwhelming amount of love that was given to him as an 11-year-old boy reading this poem, having to lay somebody so important to rest. And I just love the connection of everybody when it came to the words that they heard him say. Like everybody really felt at such a young age, he had such an impact. And that kind of was
Mm.
like a really good influence for me. And then he's also a church kid, so I guess that's another thing.
No, that's beautiful because it's like it's our word. I feel like his words in that moment spoke to how everybody was feeling. And it's just like thank you for, because I also heard that public speaking is like one of the top fears. Like honestly,
Oh yeah,
people fear public speaking more than death. So it's just like you have the courage and the tenacity to go up there and to speak at a time like this. Like thank you. You know what I mean? And sometimes other people's words is what heals somebody. Like you have the words that I don't,
right.
and you have the courage to speak them. And I feel like it goes back to like again expressing something. Like God has to be expressed and we are the vessels, whether that comes through writing, whether that comes through dance, whether that comes to speaking, like hip hop, neo
Mm.
soul, like it's gonna come out in some form of way. And it's I feel like it's hard to try to deny that there is not something bigger at work.
I mean, the talents are God given anyway, so there's that. You always gonna get God regardless because God gave you that talent.
That's it. That's all she wrote. That's it. That's all she wrote. Are there any other like aspects that you think can be hidden or like acknowledged, not acknowledged enough when it comes to, I guess, creative energy, God energy when it comes to music, hip hop specifically? Or I know we talked a little bit about neo soul.
Honestly, I just feel like whenever somebody is talking about God, people kind of tend to ignore it, and I need us to stop doing. Because granted, if it's not for you, okay. If that's not how you connect to God and what they're talking about, the content of their music isn't 100% for you, cool, understood. But if you just don't want to listen to this subgenre of music because you don't want to hear people talking about God, it's kind of like you're missing out on some deep. You're missing out on some lessons. You're missing out on some healing because some of this music is very, very healing. It will give you that connection that you need, the words that you might need, the motivation that you might need to help reaffirm your relationship with whoever you see God as, regardless. So I feel like it would be more beneficial if people would stop trying to put holy hip hop in this small little pocket and realize that God is in rap and hip hop, period. Just embrace it.
Period.
And if your favorite rapper who don't be talking about God start talking about God, be quiet. Let that person be healed. Like I feel like that's a healing situation going on, and allow people to heal in their own way. If you want to start talking about God, let me talk about God. If you don't want to listen to it no more, I honestly feel like it says more about you than the person making music. But that's just
Yeah, I remember there was this time where Nicki Minaj had hopped on a Tasha Cobb song, and I during that time I was in a community of Christians that were like, I don't listen to secular music. I don't even watch rated R movies. And it's like, cool. But you're mad because a rapper that is known as a secular artist felt called to hop on a track and she was inspired. And it's just like the verse was hard. I don't know if you remember that song, but it first off, it's Tasha Cobb. So you're going to feel something when the woman opened her mouth. And okay, somebody that doesn't meet your standard of whatever it is, holiness or sacredness or whatever, is now inspired, and they're also using scripture to speak on a verse, which I don't think it. I know Nicki Minaj is very controversial right now. Let me not let me not say that. But this is like pre Nicki when everybody liked Nicki. This is when everybody liked Nicki. But it was a powerful time. It was a powerful moment, and I feel like a lot of people can miss out on something, denying somebody. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of contradicting to say that God can't be used or spoken through somebody through something because of, I don't know, perceives or thoughts or, I don't know, judgment,
it can really be
projection.
possible.
All Yeah, you can miss a message for real. Kind of like what you're saying. Like, let them have their moment. They heard Tasha Cobbs and now they feel moved and compelled to express something. Good for them. You know what I mean? Listen to it, don't listen to it, but don't knock somebody for their moment with God. So
Right. I feel like a lot of
that's that.
toxic Christianity goes behind that, but that's a different topic. We're not going to go
That's I was
there.
like, oh, that's a
We're
rabbit
not
hole
going
we
to go
can
there.
go down,
Yeah.
but we'll save it for another yap session for sure. But
Oh man, this is
any
our
last
first
word?
episode. It's just us, bro.
I know. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling
I
that.
like this.
I feel like I like this. Shout out to all my yappers out there, yapping with a purpose. We
Right,
like
trying
what you
to.
hear. Make sure to check out episode 1 and episode 2. We had Jazz on the first episode. Shout out to our executive producer out here creating spaces for women like Mouse and I, and more to come. And then shout out to Sherelle. She just dropped her last project, Tale of an Underdog. Make sure you listen to
That.
episode 2 to hear the journey behind that, how it was made, why it was made. It's on all
And that's still
platforms.
going,
And
it's
it's
still spinning constantly in my whip. That thing sounds so good in my car, man. Sub be jumping. I'm telling y'all.
No, for real. And make sure to check out the OK Sis playlist. If you trying to get your self-esteem up, if you trying to get ready to go to an event and you need some good shit to listen to as you put that shit on, that is a good playlist to tap in. I myself am on there, and some
The
other cool
baddie
artists,
playlist.
local artists. The baddie playlist. If you bad and you know
Yeah.
it, make sure to check out that playlist. And we want to thank y'all so much for tuning in to episode 3. Episode 4 is in the works. Make sure to stay tuned and locked in. We got a lot of stuff coming your way. March 20th.
Right.
Let me put that out there. March 20th, we got our first live podcast for the OK Sis, and we got an all women's takeover for Beats and Chill. So love y'all. Thank y'all so much. It's Dez Nicole, my sis Mouse, episode 3.
And make sure y'all like, subscribe, share, all that. Comment. We want to see everybody.
Need that. Need that.